Alrighty. Whoa. Why are we not recording? Hold on a second. Alright, that's much more like it. That's not the right screen. But we're not going to restart now. Just going to press a button, switch, there we go. That's the right screen. Cool. Alright, so here's what I figured we can do. Now, originally I figured that when we were working on this project, we should do some sort of an arcade mode, and then focus on the main story once the game is more out, and maybe we can get some money in to distribute between sound engineer and 3D artists. So that was the initial plan, and as I'm working on the story, I'm kind of considering, is doing an arcade mode gonna spoil too much of the locations and bunker chunks and all that stuff for the main campaign? Is that gonna spoil too much? So then I figured, okay, maybe we should go straight for the campaign right away. But then I figured, okay, that kind of deviates a little bit too far from the initial plan, is to have something playable and complete early on. So what I figured we can do is we can still do the campaign part. We can still handle the campaign part separately. We can still do the arcade mode first, but we can place it onto a separate map taking place in a different location of the swamp. So that way we still have our arcade mode where the players can run around and survive the night and do all that good jazz. And we get to release it and publish it out early, and then we can focus on the main story. So, with that in place, what are the basics of the campaign mode? Of the arcade mode, excuse me. We need a day and night cycle, so we're gonna start, well, not day and night cycle, excuse me. We need a night cycle, which is technically, it's evening time, and then night, and then we have the cycle where it's like night, and then dark night, and night, and then dark night, and there's a storm section, maybe a couple of times throughout the night, and then you basically have to survive until the morning, and that's generally the game. Now, to achieve that, we might actually have to quickly put together some sort of a cycle system. So this is arcade mode. I might actually have to forego on Zillion terrain because it hasn't been updated in a while, and it seems to be running a little bit buggy with the LOD system. And I don't know if there has been an update. It doesn't look like there's been an update in a while. That's a little unfortunate. But, the terrain 3D that is being developed looks like it's surpassing in feature set, and I guess that's just going to have to work in for the time being. Okay, so I'm going to keep height map terrain here for the time being, and we're going to work with terrain 3D instead. Let's download this. Okay, while that is being downloaded, we do need a player. And what else? We need an environment. In the environment, we're going to need to set up this. Asset download error. Cannot connect to host. What are you talking about? Come on. I might have to download it manually. Terrain 3D. Just finished the last stream, 2 hours of basics. Ugh. Yeah. Sometimes I just get stuck on the Dumb stuff. It looks like the asset lib is offline. Someone DDoSing it. Come on, man. Is it on GitHub? It does seem to be on GitHub. So we might be able to just pull it off of GitHub. Unless it's not on GitHub, and it's actually my internet that's bugging out. Check, check. Anybody in the chat verify that I'm still connected? And I'm not actually ghosting right now? Okay, 2 separate websites can't be down. Hold on, let's see. Okay, Facebook still works. Twitter still works. YouTube? I think GitHub is down. And that might also mean by extension the asset lib is down. Okay. Let's see. Is GitHub down? GitHub outages reported in the last 24 hours. An incident has been resolved. That's July 31st, though. Alright, let's see. What does GitHub have to say about it? Oh, Twitter's not working. Okay, so maybe it's my internet. Sounds like that might be Yeah, my internet's down. Dang it! Okay. Well, that's lovely. Okay, that's fine. We are gonna work CSG box. Oh, something just loaded. Okay, let's do this. Yeah, so it's not GitHub's problem. It's my internet. Terrain 3D. I'm just gonna keep that open. Inside. Oh, actually, we might just be able to download it now. Download. Yes. Hurry. Hurry. Come on now. Hurry. There we go. 3 files in conflict. Oh boy. Well, I don't need the demo. Don't need any of this stuff. I think that should be good. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I'm gonna save this. Continue. Let's save it to levels. Levels. Scenes. There we go. Okay. So this is gonna be arcade mode. Cool. And now, plugins, Terrain 3D, unable to load add-on script from path, might be due to code error. Okay, so I think this is where it needed to reload it. All right. There we go. I don't know if we are still live. Maybe. Maybe Vishal can tell us. I'm gonna wait for the project to load. Okay. I see there's somebody in the live views. It's a non-zero value for once. Who be lurking in my stream? Ya better not be a bot, man. Okay, let's get the plugin enabled. Terrain 3D. Thank you. Ready. So, don't need the CSG box. Unlucky tick. Hello. Okay, terrain 3D. Beautiful. All right, now, first things first, we need to save everything. So let's do terrain 3D data. Okay, this is for, what is this for? Arcade level. Save this. Save that. And then save this. Beautiful. Just saved the last stream. 2 hours of basically saving, reloading, and running the game. Shows the level of patience. Here's the problem with that. You see, the entire issue was that the multi-mesh instance cannot be a child of, like a sub-child of the my terrain, my scatter tool. It has to be a physical child present in the actual hierarchy, in the actual tree. This is not the first time I've made this tool. And what I think essentially happened is that the first 2 or 3 times I've made this tool, I always went for the multi-mesh instance being the topmost node. So I've never experienced this issue. But lo and behold, this time around I figured, okay, I want to have a shape be the topmost node first. And what happens? Well, what happens is that I do that, and then unbeknownst to me, if the multi-mesh, since it's no longer the topmost node of the scene, it's a child scene, unless it is exposed through editable children, any sort of edits and changes that are made in the editor are temporary until you reload the level, and until, if you run the game, it also gets reloaded from scratch. Like that, it's an error that I made too late. You know, you do it correct a couple of times, you're pretty sure that everything's gonna be fine. Okay, so yeah, lovely stuff. Let's get this texture prep. What do we need to do? Oh god, we're gonna have to do the whole texture thing again. All right. Installation updates, getting help, Discord. Hey, okay. Texturing the terrain. Preparing textures. That's what we need. Okay. Albedo texture, RGB, and then height texture is the alpha channel. Okay. And then the normal texture. Okay. Textures can be channel packed using pack texture option in Terrain 3D Tools menu at the top of the viewport. Okay, so they've included something. Pack textures. Oh, no way. Oh, we can do it from here now. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, so what do we need? We need packs. Okay, we have wood, soil, leaves. Okay, color. This is the height map, which is displacement. And then normal, roughness. Oh, that's perfect. Pack texture as. Might have to convert the normal to the proper one. Okay, packed albedo height. Yeesh. Okay, so we might wanna put this in here. Terrain textures. And what is this? This is what's the name of this? Ground 019 2K color, or 2K. What the? That's it. Unless... Ah, this is, right. Right. I need to supply both of them. So this is 19 and H for normal and height. Wait, really? Normal? Why is it asking me for that again? Hold on a second. Albedo height. That's this one. Yes, okay. That makes sense. 2 textures, 2 packing operations. And then normal and technically normal and roughness. And R. Cool. All right. Okay, and then can we not populate that automatically? Gotta do it manually. Okay. Let's see. Terrain textures, that's not it. This one is the one that we want. Don't need the 2K. No, don't need this one. Normal height. So this is color and height. A and H. Ah. That goes here. And this goes here. Beautiful. Okay, save it up. We also implement multiple multimesh scattering and scatter tool, like scattering boulder stumps and trees in one go. I probably eventually will have to look at something like that. Yeah, I think it's inevitable. Okay, so this is... Let's take a look at the tree. Tree mimic. Tree scatter. Where's the tree scatter tool? Tree cluster. Nice. Beautiful. Is the terrain not collidable by default? Yes, it is. Okay. Uh-oh. Oh. Huh. Looks like a tree cluster might actually also be not too good. Lock. Populate. This shouldn't really be taking this long. Here we go again. Shh. Hush now. I mean, the funny thing is, the static prop spawner should act as the tree cluster. The tree cluster just has to have a little bit of extra data. It doesn't really seem to be colliding with anything, unless bake occluder, bake nav mesh, bake array mesh. It might be that it's just not colliding with the terrain in the editor. Let me double check something. CSG 20 by 20. Okay. Let's do this. and then we enable collisions. And then the tree cluster. Populate? No? Well, that's curious. Nice. Fascinating. Okay. There is a level. This level determines how high the trees are going to be spawned. So it doesn't spawn in certain dips. We can set it to below. And I think we also need to make unique. Because otherwise, I think we haven't done that. The make unique thing. Which means we were technically running on a multi-mesh for one of the trees in the parent level. Okay. That's fine. Rotation range. I see. We haven't really made this as intuitive as the other one. Unless we just pay attention to the output because it's talking about something. Can I call method intersect ray on all instance? Okay. Tree cluster 122. Let's take a look at this. Direct space state, intersect ray. It's being called by generate, and generate is being called by the looks of it from literally everything. Space state isn't really available in just about anything and everything. So we've been through this before. Right. We cannot call generate here in all of these because space state for any sort of physics calculations has to be called within physics process. Okay, so func physics process. We're gonna have to store var updated false, and then we're gonna go here if not updated. I guess we should probably default it to true. If not updated, updated becomes true, and generate is going to be executed. Now, everywhere that we update the value and detect it, we're going to set this variable false. I wonder if there is something like call deferred, but you specify during which stage you want the deferring to be done. Okay, that's fine. It is a tool. See here. Obviously, you're one of the most insane person. It has to be done anyways. It's not like I'm going to say, oh no, it doesn't work. That's a wrap, everybody. That's all, folks. That's all, folks. Space state isn't accessible right now. Duh. 122. 122. Ah, yeah. Well, the lines have changed, so we should probably reload the script. Physics process, the same name as previously declared function. I have a physics process already here, apparently. There it is. And we're not doing generate anymore. update it false. Maybe updated should actually be changed. Okay. So changed false. This is just for my own sanity. When we change it, when we generate it, we tell it to be true. Okay. And then if changed is true, changed becomes false. We are going to move this to a physics process that is already present. And then we just place it here. And there we go. All right. Hey. All right. It has detected the floor by the looks of it. Although it seems a little wonky. Failed to collide. Infinite loop averted. Oh boy, we have infinite loops that we're experiencing here. That's lovely. You know what I could do? Instead of doing this whole infinite loop thing, instead of doing while, I could basically have it essentially keep track of which number instance we're going for, and then it will attempt to go through all those instances, and if it fails, it will just reduce the number of instances by that amount. That's one way that we can handle it, because it seems to be hitting infinite loops either way. Hmm. Okay. Instance count. So let's do var actual instances set. Set to 0. And then we're going to go down here when we shoot the ray and then get the data in return. Instance count. If the dictionary is empty, empty collision dict counter. This is how many collisions it failed. I guess this is where we could do it. So let's say, I mean, technically we don't need this. 3 places where we mention it. We need to have one that's outside. So if it is empty, then nothing really happens. Actually, if it's empty, then we continue. So we skip this particular tree. Else, actual instance set is going to be plus equals 1. Which means if it is successfully finding a collision, for every one that it found, it will add +1. That tells us how many we've made. But we have to calculate how many have failed. So I guess the easiest way would be just to make another variable. Failed collisions 0. And then when this happens, plus equals 1. And then we want to make sure that we don't use x in order to set the position of the tree, because then if we fail to get the position, that x value, that tree that corresponds to that x, is not going to get positioned. We don't want to do that. So here we do x. We do not want to use x. We're going to use whatever this number is, which technically we should do this at the very end of the for loop operation, which is going to be right here, as long as it's a part of it. Now, what is this? Failed to collide infinite award loop. Place tree obviously higher to see. We're not going to need this. Okay, so we can actually just nuke this entire system. How's the CPP learning going? Very tough. Very tough, I must say. While execution counter, that's not going to be required. Okay, so we're not going to need to place the trees. Failed executions are being counted. I think this whole thing is going to be a lot simpler once we're done. This is where we set the position of it, and we don't want to be setting the position of x, because some x's could have been skipped. We're going to do this variable instead. Actual instance set. Actual instances set. Or success instances? Nah, let's just do this. Actual instances set, so we go here. This is what we're going to use. At the end of the loop, it is going to advance by 1. We do have an issue here where we break. Break is for breaking the for loop. Now that's not good. Although maybe... This might actually be a bit of a problem. If it's above the level, we break. But break breaks the whole for loop. There used to be a while loop here, but now we have a for loop here. Okay. Why do we have this? This is for advancing the random tree. Okay. So we don't need this anymore. Seed offset. Redo the calculation if we don't touch the terrain. Which we can't, because we don't no longer do this in a while loop. Okay, that's fine. Let's reduce this to a more simple system, and we'll re-add anything that needs to be re-added. Okay. So what happens here? Break breaks the whole loop. We don't want to do that. So I'm going to comment this out for now. Okay. Which realistically should probably just return it back to the way it was before. Which, right there. All right. Position. It doesn't really update when we move the node. I think that would be nice. Oh yeah, this is a really old way of doing it. It's a lot shorter now. Old position, global transform.origin. We could do that. Global position now. And then we go to physics process. If old position does not match global position, old position becomes global position, and then changed becomes true. And then you can see it technically works, not entirely. Certain trees just kind of stay the way they are. Actually, that could very well be because certain trees are not having their calculations being done accurately. Hmm. Okay. So if we take terrain, what can we do here? Raise. Oh man. Yeah, these terrain tools are very quite awesome. This might be quite a bit superior. Sorry, Zillan. Might have to work with Terrain 3D from now on. Oh well. Okay, so that's good. And then we take the tree cluster. Um, okay. Interesting. Is it bugging out? It's bugging out. It's not bugging out. Fascinating. Is it because the terrain doesn't... Hmm. Nah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Whatever unfinished thought I just disproved in my own head. I thought it was trying to run the collision, and it failed, but it would have told us that it failed. So that can't be the issue. It does update the collision. That can't be it. So it's got to be this then. Okay, if old position not the same as the current position, update changed becomes true. If changed is true, becomes false, run generate. Okay. Terrain 3D building debug collision. Disable this for releases. Okay. Well, isn't that kind of what we need? Debug collisions. Ah, interesting. Man, this is more broken than I thought it would be. Well, okay. So maybe it is redundant to have instance count export variable because we can set it right here. Instance count. We're going to make that as a separate variable called old instance count. On ready, it is going to peek into the multi-mesh and then get the instance count from there. Okay. And then we go to physics process and we say if old instance count does not match to the current instance count, update change becomes true. And there we go. Okay, taking a little longer to save this time. Curious and concerning. And now it doesn't work. But that's probably because we need to refresh. Ah, right. Beautiful. I love it. It's everything I ever wanted to be. Okay, interesting. What fresh horrors are these? Oh, it's probably like, what? Rotation, everything else here? Okay. Okay. Interesting. Fascinating. We've made horrors beyond human comprehension. Okay, that's fine. What is happening with this? While exec counter, not necessary. Seed. Huh. Let's double check this code. So origin, location. This is where we create the parameters from which, oh man, 100 units? Yeah, that's quite a bit. This is where we get the parameters for the raycast to shoot. Origin location. So we take region X minus region X positive region X, random number. Y stays as 0. Oh. Well, that doesn't make sense. Hold on. Oh no, that does make sense because we use a vector 2 value for the region parameter instead of a visual node, collision shape node. Okay. That's what that is. Okay. The vector 3 from x, negative x, positive x, negative y, positive y. That gives us the origin location. Then we have the parameters created from, this is where we shoot the ray, global position of this node plus origin location, and then we add, double check that. Yes, we add a y value. And then we place a debug sphere in that location for testing. Which, by the way, the place debug sphere right now doesn't actually place any debug spheres because, yeah, it's disabled. Cool. It's fair enough. Let's keep going. The 2 parameters. This doesn't make sense. Let's take a look. 2 is a parameter in global coordinates. So we do not need to add the from coordinate to the to coordinate. They're both in global space. Okay. So it could be that maybe it fails to get a collision and it just moves on to the next tree. And if it does that for all the trees, then none of the trees get positioned. So let's do print tree cluster failed to position to collide with ground. And then if it does actually get us the data, origin location ends up being used where? Origin location on the y-axis specifically is being set to the global position of the dictionary, the response, so what we got here, minus the global position of this object. Okay. Maybe this scaled is the problem. Transform basis. I think the transform now has scaled local. And we can just do it this way. And this is for rotation, same thing. Don't need this. Rotated local. Okay. Good. Hopefully. Tree cluster failed to collide with ground. And it looks like that happened to all of them. Let's use X to indicate which tree that happened to. $39, which makes sense because we have a total of 40 units here. So why is it failing to collide? Get world 3D. Probably because we're trying to do this here rather than in the level. Get tree. Edited scene root. think maybe this right here would be the answer. We get the world 3D of the edited scene, of the root of the editing scene. Might have to save it for it to work. No, might have to reload it. No. You know, let's just use raycast. Okay. Negative 100. Negative or positive 50. So it goes 50 units up, 50 units down. I think that's going to give us plenty of space. Okay. So I guess origin location would have to be negative positive 50. What is it right now? Positive 50 to go up. No, hold on. Yes, that is correct. Positive 50 to go up. Raycast 3D. Global position equals. We could just do position. Origin location. Okay. And then we do if raycast 3D is colliding. I guess we can do an exception. Yeah, let's not confuse this anymore. So if it is colliding, we're gonna allow this to work its magic. And then we might want to do this beforehand though. What did you miss? Not a whole lot. We created a new scene for the arcade mode, which is where we're gonna try to push out as fast as possible a just a survive the night type of deal, and then focus on the campaign stuff once that is out the door. Okay, raycast 3D is colliding. Before we can do is colliding, we need to do raycast 3D force raycast update, and before we can do that, raycast 3D, we already set the position right there. So if it is colliding, origin point is gonna do equals raycast 3D get collision point. And that's basically all there is to it. And then I think all we have to do scaled, rotated, translated, local. We're going to translate it to this position minus global position? Or is it global position of the raycast? I think it's a global position of the raycast. In which case, we don't need to do this. Transf not declared in current scope. Right, because we are creating it here. There we go. Okay. All right, now it wouldn't work here. We can prevent it from doing it within its own scene by doing if engine edit, oh no, get tree edited scene root name is tree cluster. return. So don't run any of this stuff, any of this nonsense in this scene. Okay. And then we also have an issue where it already has a multi-mesh instance right from the get-go. Okay, 167. Okay, so we do if multi-mesh is not null, then we let it do this thing. And I guess we can also do so up here in the generate. If it is null, return. Cool. All right. I do see the raycast. It's a little short, but I think that's because our whole object is kind of dipping on the ground. Actually, yeah, that's curious. Is arcade mode shifted? It is. Oh, right. Still have to figure out what's happening with that. Is perhaps something wrong with our scale? I don't think we need lock. Lock was kind of a result of a paranoid schizophrenic issue. Or lock. How many times do we use this? 2. All right. Although lock is kind of there to prevent any sort of accidental regenerations. When we enter a tree, it seems like we duplicate the multimesh. This is for copying. Okay, we're gonna do, if it is null, multimesh equals multimesh instance or multimesh resource new. Okay, else we're gonna duplicate it. And then we need to set the transform format to be 3D. And I think these are all the changes that we need to do. Alrighty. That's good. Good. Right. Just double check that. 10 tree. Let's figure this thing out. It looks like the raycast is always positioned in the same place. Okay, sure. Seed. I'm gonna make sure the seed is defaulting to 0. Seven. Right. Oh, that's seed change. Okay, sure. 7's a lucky number. That's why we chose it. Random rotation. 360. 0.8 to 3 is the random scale. And that's cool. Spawn collision. That's a curious one, because we're supposed to be able to supply the collision shape. I suppose the issue here... Huh. The issue here is that we assumed that the tree cluster node is hard-coded to only do stuff in regards to the tree cluster. So the collision shape is probably baked into the properties. Yeah, there it is. Okay, now the further I'm working on this, the more it's starting to look like the prop placer. On one hand, we're remaking the same system twice. On another hand, we learn through repetition. So doing this a couple of times would just be helpful with working out all the kinks. Okay, that's fine. Let's figure out what is not being placed. Instance count. Right, no, that makes sense. It's not supposed to be counting any instances when it's not in the level. Let's see if it's actually detecting position change. Print. Tree cluster position changed. Uh-huh. It is working on that front. Okay, we did make sure that the multi-mesh is the top node. Change becomes true. Generate should be executing. Print. Generating. It is. Or at least it's getting as close as here. Clear the debugging spheres. Set the seed. And then the only other thing that we do, well, we don't really do anything. Interesting. Okay, so maybe it's because we're not colliding with anything here. So let's do else. Print. Tree cluster, no collision. And that is indeed what is happening. Why is there no collision? The raycast, where's the raycast? The raycast is over there. It is going straight through the ground. Okay, quick test. CSG cube, enable collisions. 100 by 100. Okay. Interesting. Wait a minute. When we click populate, does it actually do it? It does. So what if I move this here? And then click populate. Huh. Fascinating. Every time it collides with something, it just skips it. Maybe one of these transforms is screwing us up. Actual instance set does get incremented, which could be at our detriment. Okay, let's keep reducing this until it works. Get rid of seed. We're going to be transforming the instance of the tree number X. Okay, well I see it juggling around, but that's because that's the randomness. And the raycast always stays around in the right place. Let's see. Oh, interesting. So it's not the raycast global position that we need to be subtracting. That doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense. And you can see that it's refusing to collide with the terrain. Because it's all it's doing is just colliding with our CSG box here. Now that's gonna be a bit problematic. Collision. Show collisions. Ah, really? Is that what we have to do? Come on. We have to make the collisions be visible. If I disable. Yep. Well. That's lovely. Hmm. See, in Zidlin's terrain, there was an option to bake a low poly mesh. At least that kind of worked. What do we have here? Automatic regions, gamma jitter, nope. Well, I mean, I can press G to disable visibility of the collision, so that could technically work. Okay, let's start bringing some of these features back. First of all, the seed should not actually be fully randomized. And also, technically, we don't need to set the seed every time, do we? We technically did it before when we had a while loop. And the job of the while loop was to iterate until certain criteria are met. We may or may not have to introduce the while loop again. But make the loop code a lot more robust to make it avoid ever entering infinite loops. That might just have to be what we do. Loop until an appropriate location is found. So while true, we are going to do what? We're going to generate this. Generate the position. Set the raycast to that position. Force the raycast update. Check if it is colliding. And if it is colliding, then break out of the while loop. Else, let's have a safety net. So failed collisions starts at 0. So if it fails, failed collisions gets added +1. And then if failed collisions is over, let's do 30. If it's over 30, then we break, and then we do a warning, push warning, failed to find tree position, tree spot. Failed collisions is already declared. Where? Here. Right. Makes sense. Okay, now the rest of the code should not be in this while loop. Okay, we had this right here that was basically doing the job of figuring out proper positions. So what we're going to do is say, if it's colliding, check this. If the type of tree placement is set to above a certain level, make sure that it is above that level. And then if it is, we break out of this while loop. So that's basically it. Yeah, except we don't store the position. We might want to create this transform beforehand. New tree transform. Okay. So we do transf equals transf translated local. Okay, so it's locally translated, and then we're gonna do raycast get collision point minus global position of the multi-mesh. And then that's going to give us that transform. For the other one, same concept. Otherwise, it's going to do this. It's going to keep adding +1. And if it fails, we'll have to do some sort of an extra safety net for like pushing the tree, I don't know, into orbit or something where it cannot hurt anybody. Or down below ground where it cannot cast any shadows. Alright. That's basically what we want. Get collision point, origin located. We don't need this anymore because we are doing it up top. We can randomly rotate and scale. Cool. We'll do the garbage collection afterwards. Okay, it is moving. But I'm also seeing some stuff here. Generating. Tree cluster position change, generating. All right. I do see that it's doing stuff. Let's get 100 trees. Okay. The rotation doesn't seem to be doing much. Ah, well, that would explain it. We seem to have issues. There's no else statement here. Are we using this? We are not. Okay, if we need it, we'll bring it back. Radict position Y. This used to use the space state collision. We're not doing that anymore. We are doing this. Get the collision point on the y-axis, check its location. So technically what I was moving around in the level just now was still the old code. There we go. That's much more like it. Now, we should see rotation. Yup. Beautiful. And then, let's see here. We should be able to adjust the level. Uh-huh. So as you can see, what it's doing is it's forcing the while loop to run more times until it finds a location that is appropriate for placing the tree. Now, I think there could be a case where once in a while it will run the while loop 30 times, and all 30 times it will fail to locate an adequate position for the tree. In that case, well, we don't really have anything that protects us from that kind of an issue, so we'll have to sort something out for that. Okay. Yeah, and all we had to do is just use a raycast instead of space state. Man, I need to make sense of that system. Get more practice with it. Okay, now I do kind of see there's a bit of an issue with tree hovering. We need to have some sort of an offset where we can, well, offset the trees down a bit. So why don't we do that? Let's see here. We have level set. Let's make another export variable, var. So y offset 0.0, and then set new value. This is the new way of doing it, the setter function. So y offset becomes the new value, and then changed becomes true. And then we don't actually use that value yet. Let's go and make use of it. So y offset, we're going to go down to generation, and then when we translate it, I think we can do the translation on a separate operation. Transf equals transf dot translated local. We're going to translate it by vector 3, 0 on the x-axis, y offset on the y, and then 0 on the z-axis. I think that's basically it. Hey, look at that. So we can sink that into the ground a little bit more. Beautiful. All right. That works for me. This is already starting to look a lot more interesting to traverse. I guess that's because in the first scene, I haven't really focused that much on terrain. And I suppose just generally terrain tools weren't as flexible and versatile. I don't know. It is what it is. Where's the player? There's the player. That's awesome. Yeah, we're gonna have to be making these sort of tools a lot for Automacon. Because there's gonna be, tree, swamp areas, forests, just suburban areas with trees growing around, parks. We're gonna need to make tools that have some interesting placement parameters. Like right now, I'm specifically telling the trees not to place themselves beneath a certain Y value. So if it shoots a collision, and that collision happens to be below, let's say, in these ravines, then it's going to say, nope, generate that again. And that is going to place the terrains in a certain area. I can also do stuff like tell it to be within that area only. So you see all the hills are empty, and then all the ravines have the trees in them. Nice. You could have a dictionary with different meshes of different conditions. I would imagine that, yeah, we'll probably have to make, maybe we'll have to make some sort of a multi-mesh system where I can choose multiple tree types or multiple props. But I think what we might have to do is also look at a system that uses noise instead of randomness. Because right now, if I introduce things like boulders, they're going to clip through all the trees, right? We don't really have control over that. But if we use a noise texture, we can get the noise. Oh, you can raycast normal as well, so you can limit spawn on terrain slopes. Yeah, okay. I've never done anything like that before. That is a definitely good idea. Okay, we have a world environment. Why don't we do a sky, and then quickly do, I think what, physical sky, procedural sky is gonna do just fine. Okay. Because procedural sky has all these color selections we can set up. Ground bottom, ground top. Okay, and then we can do our fog. Woo! And the fog completely invalidates the sky. Man, come on. Oh, that's really weird. We set density to 0. Huh. Is it sky effect? Ah, there we go. Sky effect, so it doesn't affect the sky. Funny thing is, I used to complain that it didn't, and now I find myself disabling it for more control. Okay, well, that right there is basically what we were trying to do, except I guess we just need a little bit of sky effect. We don't need a lot, but if it's 0, then this looks weird. Why are the trees orange and the background is not? So we need at least a little bit of affecting here. Could write your own fog shader. According to tutorials, it's easy, but I haven't done it yet. Man, that sounds awful. That sounds like a lot of work. I do think I'm gonna have to maybe put together some sort of a sky shader. If not for this project, definitely for Atomicon. Child of Ether is already kind of part of the way on that trail. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is gonna load just as long as the regular level. Ooh, it might be. Unless right now... Oh, trees are still here? Yes, they are. Whew, this is some huge ground. The fog shader uses depth data. Gotcha. Oh, man. Still waiting for fog begin, fog end to be re-implemented. This stuff is just annoying. Okay, what are we going through? Fart cloud over here? Jeez. It's like Shrek had chimichangas. Yeah, so you can see, if we don't use full sky effect, we can see the draw distance. We can see everything just kind of disappearing. Which kind of renders the whole feature pretty pointless. So we do this. We can't see the sky. Can't set the sky. Oh, man. All right. Well, let's do a quick double check. So we know that... get ready for another porting process. Oh, boy. Is it that bad now? Prop scatter to collision. What the hell is this doing here? Go away. It's probably when I had set the owner incorrectly. Alright, there's an environment here. We need to be able to talk to it. It's part of the group. Copy that. Main level world environment group. Let's go to the arcade mode. Paste it in the part of that group. And now we should be able to see it. Okay. Very interesting. We could do some funky stuff with the fog density if we reduce the height down to this much. I'm guessing making custom fogs might be possible to do like fog regions, so that you have different fog densities in different environments. Okay, we can ease up on the fog here, now that we're affecting the background. A lot of use that is. And we can do this. That's really cool. Oh, whoops. There it is. Oh. Right, that's the render distance. Yeesh. Yeah, that walk cycle is a little wonky. I have to change that. Okay, if we do any of these, do these actually work? Well, that failed. Jesus. Jesus can't help you now, boy. Invalid set index in environment transition speed on base node 3D with value type float. Get tree, currency, and environment transition speed. This is a problem. We might want to put this into a singleton. Hello, friend. How's your night? Night's going well. How about yours? Making slow incremental progress, but progress it is still. All right. Let's see. Scripts. Add a new script. Environment data. Make that into autoload. Beautiful. And then we're gonna move these. is. Get tree, get nodes and group. Main level group. Right. This is where we store this data now. I was looking over old YouTube history from 2014. Woo! Man. I still remember when you could customize the visual look of your channel in like early, what is it, first revision of YouTube? Those are wild times. Okay, 100 seems to be the default value. And then, yup. Environment data dot this. Cool. Yup. Alright, guess we'll just run it. Except we don't run the main scene. That's the sandbox. We're going to run the arcade mode. Okay, outside, inside. Now that, technically, should be updating. And yet it does not. And that's curious. Is that because we moved? Is it because we moved the developer panel to a separate independent singleton, which broke it game-wide? Or is it because of certain unforeseen issues? Let me check this in the main level where I know I've seen it work before. If it loads. Come on now. I see the environment changing. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Environment auto update is set to true. So it could be that the developer panel has a check that we are not passing. Probably the check involves scene name. DevTools panel. Okay, this is for changing the data, the speed, and whether or not it's being updated. DevTools. Okay, let's take a look at the DevTools. We are looking for this. And it's based on environment list, and it has its own, it does not have its own script. So we have to look at the top script. DevTools panel. Okay. Create buttons for teleport locations for environments. Okay. We do connect a signal to ourselves, dev env change. And then in the master node, we use current environment zone. That is being used within this piece of code exists only within the main level. And that's the issue. I might have to move this. Might have to move this to our, whoops. What is it? Environment data. But that is going to make it, environment node. We need to actually access that. That is going to also affect sandboxes for Antoine and Dimitar. So we are going to, let's see, get rid of this. Environment data. Okay. Beautiful. And then we're only going to do if get tree current scene name is found in the following array. It is going to be arcade mode, and it is going to be in level. If it's neither of those, don't do it. I think I should be able to do, let me double check if this works. Take the name, check if it's in this array. And if it's in this array, we let the rest of it go. So if not in the array, we return. And don't mess around with the environment. Cool. Okay. Arcade mode. So the arcade mode is going to be very simple. You start at a precipice of the swamp. There's a little survivor camp checkpoint, kind of like what you have in Left 4 Dead. A little room with supplies and instructions and some notes. And then you're supposed to find the exit. And while you're finding the exit, you're supposed to collect resources, build defenses, do all sorts of good jazz. So it wants directional light 3D. That's fair enough. Man, everything going sideways. Here I thought I'm going to start the stream. I'm going to make the night cycle system. We're going to get it up and running. But nope. Oh, fixing shit now. Let's see. Master node. Invalidate index on base null instance. Light energy. Right. It's expecting it to be in this scene. Also, we can't really assign the node here because when we launch the actual game, we're not going to be in a level that has an environment node or a directional light node, so that's not going to be a good way to handle it. We're going to have to do null, and then we're going to do if this is null, then this variable is going to attempt to pull the data from this group. It does return null if it doesn't find it, so it's just going to keep running this over and over and over until it actually finds it. And then we also need to do the directional light. So on ready var dir light or sun light node null. Same thing. If this is non-existent, this is going to be grabbed from a node group, which is going to be sunlight or sun group, and then return, which means we now need to make sure that this is a part of the group called sun group. I don't need this panel. Sun group here, and then same thing in the main level. Again, it's annoying, but we have to go through this so that we know how to handle it once we get to bigger projects. As if this isn't turning into a bigger project. Dang. Okay. I really need to haul ass on this one. Haul ass, excuse me. Haul ass. Okay. We got arcade mode. Are you gonna work now? I think I may have launched the wrong scene. Nope. I pressed the launch scene button. It did crash, but that's because we're probably still trying to talk to incorrect. Yep, incorrect node. We need to be talking to the sunlight node or sun node. So that's indescript and independent. Oh, dang it. I actually found an old bunny cage from the rabbit we had. Unfortunately passed away earlier this year. That bunny cage actually has sheet metal and wireframe, and I got some really nice like Half-Life 2 vent sounds out of it. Sounds fantastic. Hey, there we go. That's working. Safe room, which seems a little too sunny. Okay. Well, this works. All we have to do now is establish proper fog distances. I think that should be good. So, let me at least do that. But I'm going to take a quick break, maybe 5 minutes, and we'll come back, restart the video. We should be good. All right, so give me a short break. Hopefully I won't forget and leave the stream running. Just fall asleep on the couch. All right. All right. There we go. I don't know how well this is going to go over, but it's almost 2 in the morning. And you know what? Fuck it. Let's see. Hope this is not going to be a totally terrible idea. First things first, let's set up the actual environment value types. So, what can we edit? What can we edit? We have a master node, which I think is the one that contains our environment values. No, it's actually right here. All the more reason to move it into environment data, because that's technically where this is going to be now. Okay. So no need to talk to the master node for this. All right, just gonna double check that. It is environment zone properties. Yes. Place all. Current environment zone is also in the master node. Okay. Do we make use of it in the master node? We don't. All right. The hell with you. Yoink, and place it in here. Well, that's a little bit easier to work with. Environment data dot environment transition speed, which is already here, so we don't need to talk to itself to get its own information. Godot player inside. That one should probably be in the master node. Maybe. If anything, we'll move it. Okay. Now, where else have we been using this information? Environment data, environment transition speed, that makes sense. I think this one is also being used. Yep. Talk to the master node. It is not in the master node. It is now here. I think as far as that goes, we're pretty much set. Okay. I wonder if we can add additional terrain textures to terrain brushes, or textures to terrain brushes. That would be cool. Okay. This is loading an awfully long time. That's because it crashed. Whoa. Okay. Environment data. That's where we're supposed to be getting the data from. Okay. Let's not waste too much time. Please and thank you. Nice. So that crashed. because we're still talking to environment, to the master node to get this information. Yeah, I think that's the last place, at least for this variable. Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. So now that we're here, what it is that we're looking to establish with this? Well, we need a set of values for our environment. We have... What do we have? Is there a multi-line comment? No. I guess maybe it's just like a really long string. Yeah, I suppose. Okay, so what is our night cycle supposed to be? We know it's supposed to be dusk, so orangish evening time. Then that is going to slowly transition to nighttime. Lorem ipsum. Lorem your ipsum. Okay. Right. So we have evening. Stages. Evening, then we have night, light. Then we have night, deep. Then it goes back to light, night, light. Then again, night, deep. Then night, light. And then storm. So the storm is the scripted event. It's basically the time when you have to find an elevated position. Okay. After the storm, we're gonna get another cycle. Night light, night deep, night light, night deep, night light storm. And after that, night light deep, night light deep, night light, and then last stand. And then morning. Okay. Maybe we can go light, night, deep, and then morning. Temporal storm incoming, comrades seek shelter. Basically. The psi storms, man. The psi storms from Stalker and radiation storms from Fallout. Okay. Cool. So what do we do here? We need to define the environmental properties for these various stages. So let's start with evening. What properties do we usually set? Background color, background energy, sun color. Ambient light, sky contribution, fog color. All right. Let's set up a separate environment for this. Separate definition. Okay. This is going to be, what is it? Arcade evening. Okay, and then we'll just mess around with values and set them in here. And that is going to be recorded in stone. Okay. All right. So. You know what? I need to turn on the ceiling light. There we go. It's reflecting off of the monitor right into my eyeball. Not very fun. Okay, so this is more orangish. Ah, yes. Not very helpful. Would be very helpful if it didn't auto-update it. That's why we placed that little feature. Okay, so we'll probably start like this. This would be evening. I don't want it to start too early. Maybe we can have an extra stage. So evening, and then after evening, then we'll have dusk. Dusk would be evening, right? Dusk is when the sun sets. Okay. May or may not have to adjust the camera clipping distance. Okay. I don't want it to be too revealing. This would be the density. Okay, that is fog color. Or fog density, actually. Okay, fog color. I'm going to copy that. Mm-hmm. Do we need sun scatter? Maybe a little bit. Okay. Ah, the angle. The angle of the directional light is actually gonna cast a very heavy light like this. Very heavy shine. Which means we might even have to have the angles stored as well. Let's make sure we enable shadows. No fun without them. Okay, this is still fairly light, so we're going to keep it more slow on the white side. Okay, this is volume. This is sun color. There we go. The sun energy right now is what? 1. Guess we can set it a little bit higher. 2 point whatever. Seems to be already the case, more or less. Okay. Now, at this point, is the background color going to inflict changes Sky color lighten sky. Sky mode. Oh, that's a directional light. We need to go to environment. Okay, we got the sky here. And I guess we can make it have a little bit of a influence over the shady parts of the trees. So this is background energy multiplier. Huh. Okay, now is that actually where it's being applied to, though? It is being applied nowhere. Background energy. Okay. Oh, it used to be here, except it's not background color. Okay, that's going to be, whoops, background energy is what we want to place here. Mm-hmm. Your beer's getting warm. You paid attention. Ooh, cheers. I think you're supposed to say cheers before you take a sip. Okay, so background energy, we do have that value now. It is actually a part of it. What else do we need to change? Hmm. Oh, I think it to get, yeah, I think it got censored. Whoops. Okay, so that's fine. That seems to work. Oh, interesting. Right. That's the volumetrics that we've enabled. Interesting. Don't really want it to be too strong. Dang it. Come back. There we go. Okay. So if we do that, mission energy, that doesn't really do anything because we don't have any glow here. Length. Cool. We don't have a way to control that value though. So we'll just work with this. See, if we're using volumetric fog and regular fog, we actually need to adjust both accordingly. Because when the both are clashing together, that creates quite an unfortunate cacophony. visual cacophony. Yeah, we can still see that. Hmm. You know what? It's actually the sun scatter that's screwing with us. Right? Well, maybe not quite. Okay, let's do this. Density. So this is... Technically, this is arcade something else. Fog density. We're going to update here, and then volumetric fog density is going to be this much. The color stays as white. That's fine. Wish there would be an option to have volumetric light without the fog. I think that goes against what the volumetric light is. The volumetric light is just places where fog is cancelled by shadow. Hey, God ray exposure, that's not necessary anymore. Not using that node anymore. Although we might. We can actually find creative solutions or creative uses for that God ray. Right. God, that screen shake is enormous. Okay, let's see if we can expand the camera what is it? Not FOV, clip distance. So this is clip or dist something. What is it called? Far? Far. It's just called far. Got it. So it's 100 by default. What if we do 200? No, not quite. Although, may want to edit it from within here. See, this is why I don't like density. You set the density to 200 meters. You set far clip to 200 meters. You know it's right on the cusp. It's right on the dot. Density? Ooh, go figure. It's in there somewhere. Okay. Looks like 110 might be just enough. Let's go 130 just for good measure. And if that's too much, then that's too much. We'll reduce it. And then here it's 130 as well. This is for when we're switching using the U button. Okay. Now, man, this is actually looking pretty interesting. Just the terrain bit. Okay. All we have here is a little bit of terrain with leaves and trees. And this is already starting to feel like a pretty interesting little piece of terrain to traverse. That took me, what, like 10 minutes to set up? Just this one tiny little area? Just goes to show how much you can do when you have adequate tools. The terrain 3D being one of them. And then the multi-mesh that we've set up. I think I might see a clip distance revealed a little bit there. Or that's just the edge of our terrain. Let's see. Nope, that's not the edge of our terrain. Cool. Okay, so this is evening time. Is it me or is it getting darker? Arcade evening. We might have to have a separate, another separate environment for when we're in the safe zone. It's going to be mostly surrounded by hills and trees, so we won't really be able to see very far until we get out of it. For the arcade mode, what I'm thinking is we're going to randomize the location of the exit, so the players have to find that exit, and yeah, they'd be able to sort this out. Oh, right. What's the actual survival criteria? Well, the exit is going to be powered by solar panels. So you have to have sun to be able to use some sort of electronic exit type deal. Maybe a drawbridge or perhaps some sort of a gate. I don't want to reuse the gate idea from the main campaign, so we'll figure something interesting. Something interesting for that. And yeah, that means you have to survive the night to be able to make it to dawn, which is when the sun comes up, the solar panels become active, and then you can exit the area safely. Okay, so what is the next type of environment? Let's go to environment data, evening, arcade evening. Technically, this would be, yeah, sure, arcade evening. And then we're going to do arcade dusk. So dusk is like the really late evening. That's when things get a little orangish. Okay, so let's run this. There we go. Take a sip of my Dum Dum potion. The brain neutralizer. The IQ fractioner. Okay. All right. So let's set arcade dusk. These are the base values. That's good. I'm just going to make sure that it's nice and fast. Oh, that's an interesting effect. Okay, so we're going to make it not update. This is where it needs to be a lot more orange. A lot more orange. Which means, first of all, sunlight. There we go. That's the color. Sun color. Next we do the environment. Fog. Okay, something like this. This would be fog color. Okay. The volumetric fog could actually get quite a bit stronger here. So we do that. Volumetric fog color. Okay. Maybe we could ease up a little bit on the density. Is that going to reveal too much of the far side? Yep. Okay, that is. Which, yeah, I think that's asking too much. This looks good. This is a very non-intrusive amount of fog. But god damn, is it really far. Man, this density thing with the fog is just such a pain in the ass. I would like to add some more fog at a distance, and no fog up here close. $200. Okay. So I'm gonna have to work with this for the time being until Godot 4.3 releases with the reversal of that feature. This is where we need fog density. Sun scatter is irrelevant because if we do that, it reveals the edge of the forest. So that has to be 0, and it has to be 0 all around. Unless the starting safe room is going to have no visible distant objects, in which case we could bleed a little bit of the sun into it, just for the visual effect. Okay. That's fine. What else? I think the background multiplier might be good to set to 0 now, so that the darker parts of the trees are actually dark now. So that is our arcade dusk. So that's this background multiplier. Background energy. Okay. Cool. So the beginning 2 stages, arcade evening and arcade dusk, these are technically the safe spaces or safe time frames where there aren't really things crawling around. And then what we're gonna do is, as the night goes along, and the various stages start appearing, we're going to progressively introduce more and more dangerous entities. So it's gonna start fairly simple, maybe some relatively weak type tree mimics. And then as we go along, it's going to get more and more severe. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. At least for now, I think this should be okay. Next we have arcade. What do we have here? Night light. Okay. Arcade, night, light. Let's run this. Okay, here we go. Load it up. Come on. Don't be shy. There we go. Now, Arcade Night Light. Quickly transition to here. Stop the automatic update so we can fine-tune these values. Okay, so night is going to be blue. So if it's a light night, we should be able to see the environment more or less. Wow, this looks really cool. Maybe I'll do this. I like this. There's a contrast between the orange and the blue. Maybe just a teeny tiny bit of sun scatter. This would be the late dusk. Just because I discovered this combination of colors. Looks really cool. Let's copy fog color. Density stays the same. Sun scatter. Okay. And then what else did we adjust? Didn't really adjust much. Yeah, I think that's basically it. Let me just double check that. Run it again. I think for this game it's okay that it's running in stages. Maybe eventually we can figure out some sort of a smooth transitioning value. Okay, so arcade evening. That's the arcade evening. Then it goes into arcade dusk. Then it goes into late dusk. And then it's going to go into the night. Okay. So what's night light going to be like? Pretty sure it's just going to be this. Okay, so that's sun scatter. Sun scatter is actually supposed to be non-existent. Like this. So, 0. Fog color is this. Directional sunlight is going to be primarily white, the hint of blue. Okay, so that's sun color. And then maybe the energy could be toned down a little bit. Okay. Now, the biggest cardinal sin is making the night be pitch black. I've been chewed out for doing that in early access experiments. The ones I would like post trailers on Steam. Nobody really likes that. So the pinhole view is not the most fun way to experience the game, through a narrow beam of the flashlight. Oh yeah, that's right. Cole had added some additional flashlight sounds. Beautiful. Very good. Although the beam, I think, is very, very widespread. Oh yeah. What about the volumetrics? Hold on a sec. That's what's missing. Okay, that's curious. Hmm. Fascinating. This is really beautiful, but not at all what I need. Well, nobody says it can't be. There's no density here. I guess that technically would be the density. Hmm. That's cool. We don't. Oh yeah, the density is above everything. Whoops. Okay, so this is night light. We're going to have just a teeny tiny bit of sun scatter. Oh, my flashlight just died. That's lovely. Okay, yeah, actually this seems like a pretty reasonable night light type scenario. We're probably not gonna get a bunch of these empty voids. You see, the only reason we can tell that there's a horizon there is because, well, there's a gap in the terrain through which we can see that there's a horizon there. I think once we get more interesting terrain and more trees all around, it's going to be much more difficult to tell if there's a horizon. Okay. Not bad. Okay, now this is... What is this? Okay, guess it doesn't update the script in real time. Okay, this is the night light. The next one is the night dark. Dang it. Wrong scene. I'm going to have to very carefully think about what mechanics are going to go into the arcade. I don't want to spoil too much of the campaign mechanics in the arcade mode. Right? I'd like to actually have something worthwhile in the campaign mode to show. Arcade evening. Arcade dusk. Just gonna set that faster. Arcade late dusk. And then arcade night light. Okay. So arcade night light is quite literally just arcade late dusk with a blue sun. Cool. Okay. Let's disable this. There's a thing called sleep. Yes, I know. I know. Okay, arcade late night. Or night light. Okay, so night dark is going to be the next set of values. Okay, what's the night dark? Fog has to be, I think, quite a lot darker. Density. Well, that's interesting. Now, what's happening here? Density is up, but what is this? Oh, that's the sun scatter. Oh, oh, that looks... Dude, this is like straight from Resident Evil Village. This color scheme. That's interesting. Okay, we don't want it to be too dark. Okay. So what do we edit here? First, the colors just went full black. So fog color. Density increased. Light effect or sun bleed through is 0. Sun scatter. What else? I think that's basically it. Okay. Maybe we need to tone down the volumetric. Oh. Oh. That's cool. Maybe give it much more deep blue. No. Bring the color. Okay, so this will be volumetric fog. Density. Okay. And then we have to do something about the sun. Directional light. Maybe we can give it a deeper blue tone. I don't want to go black because, again, nobody likes to play in pitch black. Okay, so let's do sun color. Okay, which means we may or may not have to actually increase the intensity of the flashlight. Okay. This is sufficiently creepy, I would say. Okay, we are gonna have to go into the player. Not player, no, flashlight. Let's close a bunch of this unnecessary stuff. Flashlight, okay. So there's the spotlight. The energy is controlled in the code. I think we need... Let's see. Something like this. How long am I planning on staying on? Well, right now I'm just setting up the environmental properties for the various cycle stages. Pretty much just about done here. I don't know, man. It's as long as I'm feeling it. Okay. Now, did we forget anything? Let's see this. Oh, I'm running the flashlight scene. Give the light an IS texture. Yes, it is on the to-do list. I will do that. It's just right now I have this that needs to be done. Which I think we're pretty much done with the defining of the environmental variables. Fog, distance, volumetrics, all that stuff. At least starter values. This should be good. The next logical step would be to set up some sort of a system that transitions between these values. Okay, so let's see. So this is arcade evening, arcade dusk, late night, night light, night dark, and then night light. So it's going to switch between these two, really. It would be really cool if we could still see a bit of the sky. We could technically fake it. Just place a flat plane with the sky and make it follow the player. And it would be low enough. It would be low enough so we could see it through the sky, but it would still be following the player. It would still be following the player, so it will look like it's stationary. Let's see. This might be kind of dumb. Maybe the... Oh, jeez, come on. Mesh instance. Can we, like, get a new node? Jeez. Mesh instance 3D. Women's boxing Olympics. 2 dudes will be fighting for gold. Man. Leave it to the French to fuck up the Olympics. Sorry if there's any French people watching. Can't even speak right now. But you know what your country did. Okay. I don't know if this is going to work, but let's see. Albedo, I think I have a sky. Okay, this isn't really something that is properly mapped. but it will have to do as a test. Just gonna do front 50 by 50 meters. Okay. Let's see. Would take emission and then drop the same texture here. Okay. We don't want this casting shadows. Geometry off. Do not cast shadows. Okay, and then we have to lift this up. Right? Half of it is not visible because we're not really supposed to use this texture this way. Okay, so we'll do this. And let's just see what it looks like. How many beers have you had? Just haven't even finished this one. Glug, 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 glug. Okay. All right. Oh, that works. Oh, no. Interesting. It rotates with us. Okay, that actually works pretty well. I'm gonna make it not be a part of this. Let's do fake sky. Let's attach a script. You have to drive. Yeah, dude, don't. Scripts. This would be... I guess we'll just save it here. So we need to acquire the player. We're going to get the tree, get first node in group. What group? We know that the player is a part of the group called local player group. That's the one that we're actually interested in. Okay, and this is a variable, so we need to make sure that that is actually a variable. Okay, and then we're going to say global position of this node is equals global position of the player node minus vector 2, vector 3 technically, 0 on the x. I think we need to add actually to move it up, and then 0 on the z. And that's it. It's only supposed to move. It's not supposed to rotate. If this works, this might actually even work as a solution for Child of Ether. I thought we were past the whole fake sky dome thing, but apparently not. Even Half-Life had to do their fake skybox that just rendered a 3D model. It didn't actually render it. It had like some interesting projection features. It's a really cool way to do it. Okay. Cool. Where is it? Is it down here? Okay. How big is it? How far is it? Big sky. I think negative 100 might have been too much. Oh yeah, or positive positive 30 more like it. Yeah, so it was just so far we couldn't even see it. Dang it. If you know clip in the skybox, other people could see it as a giant. Yep. It's funny occurrences from Gmod. I suppose it was a way to solve the floating point values issue, right? Because the floating point, Jesus Christ, I can't even speak. The floating point values have an issue with 3D graphics where the smaller the floating point value is, or the larger it is, the more decimals there are, the more wonky or wobbly the vertices become due to rounding. And it would be kind of insane to actually render a vast, humongous distance as in real units. So their solution was to fake it by projection rendering the little micro scene. Okay, I'm just gonna do a quick thing here with stars, since we can't really use an HDRI map that we created or that we downloaded. Textures. Okay, just for good measure. Gonna make sure that it repeats. There we go. And now let's make another layer. So this is gonna be half the brightness. All right, quick and easy, quick and dirty. Dreadtail escape, assets, textures, painted. Night sky. We could do something like this. It's on a separate layer, so if it don't work, you can always disable it. All right, that's good. Let's get that exported. Whoop, don't merge it. Engine, textures, painted, night sky, Pungu. The fried chicken man nebula. Okay. Right. Right, so that's too stretched out. But we can use UVs. Set it to 2, 3, 4. Nice. 5. I mean, this seems like a pretty reasonable, decent effect. We could even do fake clouds if we do another texture and then have a transparent texture with some scrolling flat images. It's kind of an old way of doing it, but it, it will look interesting, and it would still be affected by the fog. Okay, so that we cannot see, but if we do emissions and push through, that might actually just work. We can't do multiply, we got to do add, unless we do multiply and we set the actual color, which I don't think we should. Nice. All right, let's see this. So because this thing is following us everywhere, except for the y-axis, well, even on the y-axis technically, it basically is immovable, which is exactly what the night sky looks like. Okay. Yeah, that kind of works. Doesn't make too much sense with the sun, but once we get into this, I can see the edge over there. Gonna have to compensate for that. Yeah, that actually does look very good, considering how much, we put into it. Maybe the glow of the nebulous is a little bit much, but this definitely, could be improved upon. Okay, I just want this to be affected by the fog. Under import settings, enable mip maps. Isn't that enabled already? No, it's not. Huh, okay. So, mip maps generate. Let's see. Running the wrong scene again. Mm-hmm. Mip maps is for automatically generating various resolutions for the same textures, right? So when it's far away, let's see. Oh, okay. Well, that seems to work. Maybe at some point I can learn how to do volumetric clouds. Also, this might be a bit too large. We did scale it up quite a bit. Let me double check that. Yes, okay, so that reveals the very edge. I think that right there kind of works. And then maybe we should do this as a 2K texture. Get more detail out of it. 10. Yeah, okay. We're getting into slightly fiffy territory. Without having a sky, our fog values didn't really have a proper reference. And then again, we also don't have a lot of stuff in the distance past this little patch of fog. You can kind of tell that it isn't super far away, and I can't quite put my finger on what. Well, now it feels like it is super far away. So, yeah, maybe it's because we can see the edge over there. Let's see. We are currently in which environment? We don't know. We don't have a way of telling that. Okay. Dev tools. We're going to get ourselves an extra, let's see, dev environment stage. Mm-hmm. Dev environment stage text. And then we're going to print from environment data, if I don't screw it up. Current environment zone. Okay. It's because it's a plane and not a sphere. If it's a sphere, you won't get that feeling that it's close. That might very well be the reason why you usually use a sphere for this type of effect. That makes sense. I guess you can kind of tell the way the pixels are moving away from you. Okay, fair enough. So let's take a look here. Fake sky. We're going to change this. I need to save this. Save as. Fake sky. Material. This is a custom material. I'm going to copy it. We're going to do a sphere. I don't think there is such a thing as a half sphere. Okay. Oh, that's a... What is this? Height. Okay, height has to be, I think, twice. Right, so if this is 200... Mm-hmm. Paste. Right, the mapping is going to be not the best. This is where we might be able to use the projected, this HDRI map. Which, you know, it won't be the one that we made. Oh no, that looks like ass. Not quite. Not quite. Are we using... Oh, right. The UVs. Yeah, there we go. Okay. That seems to be correct. Just tone it down so it's not super strong. 100, 200. Which is actually right on the cusp of our render distance. Far, 200, yes. Okay, so now, with the environment enabled, can't see squat. Whatsoever. So that's probably too small. Actually, it's just really far. Maybe we can do a half dome type thing. Yeah, let's see what this looks like. Okay, it's being clipped. It's being clipped just outside the render range. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. So then we go Okay, dusk. Okay, we're starting to see the sky. Late dusk. We see this. Well, technically, the funny thing is, if we're doing that, I don't need to lift it up by 200 meters. Or 30 in this case. Right? It could just be right smack in the middle of the player. There we go. That makes more sense. Okay, and then we'll take that fake sky. And now we can mess around. No, the sky is collapsing. Okay. 50. Oh, that's a little bit low. Radius 50. So 100. 200. Oh no. It's shadows being cast on it. We need to make it not receive shadows. Disable ambient light. Disable fog. Oh boy. Approaching the event horizon, basically. Where's... I don't want shadows. Oh, we could do additive blend. Might work. Cast shadows off. I'm pretty sure that receive shadows is a material property. Cast shadows. Yeah, it's got to be a material property. And yet, I don't see it. What if I set it to unshaded? That might be it. Let's see. Okay. Yes. This seems like that might be... Okay, maybe... Oh, shadows. Disable receive shadows. There we go. But technically it shouldn't really be shaded either. Evening. Nice. You know, that's pretty good. Oh, right. If you disable shading, we cannot get emissive data. Because emission doesn't work. Right? You see, emission property just disappears entirely. Not that we need emission to be at 20. That's not really what we want. But yeah, there we go. Disable fog. Yes, nice. Okay, now I gotta tell you, if we can achieve something like this, we can actually do some pretty nice looking visuals, provided we have some interesting animations, enemy character motion, and whatnot. Maybe we need to get the radius to be at 200. There we go. Look at that. And there's no such thing as FOV here. Oh, that could work. Well, except that reveals that part. That's not really good. Maybe if we do it exactly by 2. Maybe. Yeah, I think that's acceptable. As long as we don't get weird places. Oh, like that. Hmm. Okay. I mean, I'd say that that is acceptable. I can probably even use something like this for Automicon. Like that to me seems like a pretty nice night sky. And then if we do late night, this is where we can't see the sky whatsoever, but that's because the volumetrics kicked in. And then no amount of emission is going to make it be revealed. Move a noise map on this texture by time to affect emission values to get quick and easy start flickering. Yes, this is later down the line when we need some fancy pants additions. That's a nice way to do it. Let me just see if I can mess around with the environment. See if I can adjust some stuff. Right. Oh, that could work. So the immediate area is kind of dark, but the distance is a little bit more lit up. And then, of course, when you get, you know, things, friendly neighbors. Whoops, not what I wanted to do. When we get, let's say, friendly neighbors just on the horizon, and you can see their silhouette, and they're kind of crawling from one place to another. Yeah, that works. Just made me realize they over-engineer everything. That used to be me, honestly. That's just too much overthinking and trying to perfect things to make it look ultimately realistic. But then again, how many times can you really, you know, cut corners or go for stylized or abbreviated? Yeah, wait until we get some humanoid creatures. I believe we actually have some, but they're just not in the enemy database. Maybe in this arcade mode, we can place some little primers for the main game. Whoa, this is quite over the top. But that's also not the right environment. Arcade evening is the right environment. This is, yeah. This is really, really strong. Density. Come on. Something like this. I realize that I tend to go way overboard with these fog properties, post-processing effects. Okay, evening, so this would be fog density. There we go. Imagining co-op when you lose each other and the silhouette appears on the horizon. I could have some sort of a mimic that simulates a player. That it kind of runs like a player. But then when you walk up to it, it's all like disfigured. And then it just starts attacking you. It's like an enemy that is very specifically designed to look like another player. Okay, so that's dusk. That's late night. We still have some orange. This looks really cool. And then this is where we can start seeing the sky. Then we got late night or night light, which actually this might be a bit strong. Let's try this. Night light. What is it? Fog color? Did we adjust it? What did we just adjust? Density? Yeah. Fog light color. Tap into adjusting glow levels to lose 2 hours of your life. Yep. Not the most fun thing to do. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's run this again with the new values. See what that's like. Imagine if we add voice recognition to the game. If we do proximity chat, then that gives us excuse to do voice recognition. And then if you see another player and you tell the other player, wait, stop, and the enemy stops because it recognized the word stop, then we can do some really funky stuff. Gaslight the player. Something about late night drinking that turns me into an evil bastard. Okay. Oh man, this transition looks good. Okay. Night light. Okay, well that seems a bit much. Let's do this. This is night light. And this was... Why did it still select density? It's this. Okay. And then night dark is when we have more of this. We could do another dark session that comes after this one. That's when it gets pitch black. Maybe we can do like one single instance when it just gets pitch black. It's a blackout. Okay. Cool. That's it. Just gonna do one last test. Check the last values. And we'll call it a day for today. We didn't do the transitions, but honestly transitions are pretty simple. Wait a certain amount of time, set the new current environment key to a new one, the one in accordance to whichever's supposed to come next. So we'll start with arcade evening, then dusk, late night, night light, night dark, light night, night dark. I'll just switch between these two. Okay. You know, I don't think we have too much fog happening in these evening stages. We have a little bit, actually. Volumetrics, not fog. Yeah. And I think, yeah, if it's light, it's okay. And at late night... MOT. Boy. Sounds annoying. Okay. I don't think we're gonna squeeze any more quality out of this. Okay. And then this is night dark. And then it's gonna switch between night light and night dark several times. Something else that we need to do is we need to place a particle into the player that is going to be the outside rolling fog. Or maybe we can do them locally. Do a flashbang at night. I don't think it's working right now properly. I think the flashlight starts already on. Yeah, right now it doesn't do squat. Alright, that's fine. Let's wrap it up. We'll continue this in the next one. Cool. We got a little bit of progress done. That's it. And thanks for playing. Thanks for joining.